What's up? It's Marco back again on the Sage of Soccer channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the last few games of Match Week 6 of the Premier League. We've got Tottenham against Burnley and Brighton against West Brom to talk about. I'm going to start off with that Tottenham against Burnley game, and overall, really wasn't the best game by either team, but Tottenham will take the points, but this wasn't the best game by Tottenham by any stretch of the imagination. So I really think that, honestly, all three parts of the team, the defense, midfield, and attack, all didn't have their best game today. In defense, while they did keep a clean sheet, and that's obviously a positive for any team, I think that they really didn't do well dealing with this Burnley attack. I think that Barnes and Chris Wood were really troubling Alderweireld and Dyer in defense, other than that elbow that Barnes gave Alderweireld. Aside from that, they're really pressuring them. They got a couple of good chances off. I think that Dyer gave the ball away in the second half. They really could have taken advantage of that if they were playing a bit better, but overall, it really wasn't that encouraging for this defense. They did do well, I guess, keeping the clean sheet, but not the best for them. Then when you look at the fullbacks, well, defensively it was fine, as I mentioned. Well, Burnley didn't exactly attack them with too much might, but going forward, it was pretty bad by both of them. Ben Davies is really not the best attacking fullback, and Matt Doherty really hasn't played that well since leaving Wolves. And maybe that's down to his position change. He has always been well, not always, but he'd been better at the 5 at the back defense, but now at the 4 at the back, he's not looking the best, and it's kind of weird for this Tottenham team. I mentioned this in my Premier League preview, but they went from Danny Rose and Kyle Walker, and Danny Rose might not be elite. That was really looked at as like the premier fullbacks of the Premier League. Pardon the pun, but now it's with Doherty, Davies, maybe Reunion is a bit of an exception, but Aurier you can throw in there. They're really average with the top teams, and I don't know, like looking at all the teams, I mean, honestly, you can make a case that Leicester is better. Arsenal's a bit of a tougher argument, but Everton, I'd say, have better looking fullbacks. Liverpool, maybe, well, Kyle Walker did go to Man City, but it's just something interesting about this Tottenham team. Then their midfield, I thought that Ndombele really grew into the game. I don't think he was the best throughout it, but I think that he grew into the game. He had a nice pass into Son, but overall, this kind of lacked creativity, which isn't what you'd like to see from a midfield, because when this midfield isn't creating that much, the fullbacks aren't doing the best. That just forces Kane to drop deeper to try to make something happen. And while that has been effective for this team, it really wasn't working out today. And you could really see the need for just that creative presence in the midfield. Like Manchester United have Bruno Fernandes and Pogba. Man City have De Bruyne. Even Arsenal have Ceballos to some extent. But it really isn't, like, the creativity in the midfield really isn't there right now for Tottenham. And you'd think that Højbjerg signing, maybe he didn't play the worst today, but you really wanted more from that team. And I think that really just affected the attack. The attack really couldn't get into the game that much. Son was able to come up with a few chances, and Ndombele had a good ball into him. But overall, it was really just them making it themselves or trying to get onto long balls. And you really want to see more from this Tottenham team. Now, obviously, they did win. The goal came off a corner where, obviously, Harry Kane found Heung-min Son. How many times is that this year now? At least 6. I think they're on some record pace. I can just about guarantee that. But then Hugo Lloris was playing well in goal. I should mention him, but not the best game by Tottenham, but they'll definitely take the points. For Burnley, there really isn't much to point out with individual players. I mean, I mentioned that Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes were really troubling the back line, but they never really looked like scoring. And overall, I don't think the Burnley team did as well. I kind of want to see Dwight McNeil in a more free role, but at the same time, Burnley can't really afford to send any more people into the attack. And I don't think he would do that well as a striker or even as a secondary striker. be pretty tough for him to adjust to that. So you kind of want to see him leave, and well, maybe Burnley will get relegated because it is looking like that right now. But that would be the only thing just about that could help him get free more. The team was defending well, just I think as a group more than anything. Their defense had actually been struggling for the last few games. It was kind of good to see them get back to their form. Obviously, they'd concede the goal off the set piece, and that is something that needs to be worked on. But, it was a good performance by this Burnley team defensively, but they never really looked like winning, and they're going to need to start getting some wins together. I do want to say I would have liked to see more of Jay Rodriguez today. I think that he's a player that could really help this Burnley team, but yeah, overall, encouraging game by Burnley, but they need to start getting some points. So for the man of the match of this one, it's really tough. Kind of going back and forth. Tottenham didn't have the best game, but they all give it to Harry Kane. He got an assist. He cleared a goal off the line for them, and honestly, those two things are probably the two best things that Tottenham did this game, and so I'm just going to give it to him. But yeah, I think he kind of deserves this because I didn't give him the man of the match when he had 4 assists, so just count it for that one if you really want to. So the last game of the week I'm going to be talking about, it's Brighton against West Brom. They drew 1-1, and she's a tale of two halves. So the first half was dominated by Brighton, and the second half was dominated by West Brom. And that's kind of weird because West Brom had typically been a first half team throughout this entire year, but it is kind of encouraging for them to see them having a pretty good second half. So for West Brom, there isn't too many positives to take from the first half. It should be said that the goal they let in was kind of unlucky. It was a own goal, Lamptey put in a cross, and it was just kind of there. It got cleared off of Livermore and went to the back of the net. And while that was kind of unlucky, they really did kind of deserve to concede. Gotta feel bad for Johnston, though. He was having a pretty good game. So once the second half started, though, they really turned it up a gear. I thought that Matias Pereira was looking really creative. He's been having some good performances this year. He doesn't have the most to work with right now. West Brom basically only attack with 3 guys at a time. But I thought he was looking really creative, putting in some good passes. Callum Robinson came on and he made an impact. I was kind of wondering why he's been benched the last few games because he was solid at striker, and I don't think that's his natural position. Grant was able to get his first goal for West Brom. I don't think it's his first Premier League goal. I think he had some with Huddersfield the year they went down. But good performance by him. Diangana, I think that he probably should have scored early on off of a Pereira pass, but he was looking pretty good, lively, I guess. The team defended surprisingly well in the second half. I really like the energy that Gallagher's been bringing ever since he started starting. Yeah, it was a pretty good result by this West Brom team. They'll definitely take it, and while they're still not looking particularly great, it should be said that it's definitely getting better as this year's gone on, and I'm not sure if they'll stay up still. I still have them going down, but if they can keep up performing like this, it's definitely positive. So for Brighton, you have an amazing first half and a terrible second half to take away from this game. So starting with the positives off of that first half, Trossard, he looked really good. He's been one of Brighton's best players this year, and I know that he's kept getting Belgian caps, but he's looking really good. You have to wonder if a bigger move's coming for him. Solly March continued to look good. He's another player that's really impressed for Brighton. Adam Lallana, he was making some chances for Brighton. Really, you kind of would have expected a little bit more to start the year, but he looked good today. Tariq Lamptey, he didn't have the most going on. He had a card later, but he did set up that own goal by chasing down a ball, getting onto a cross. I've really been liking how he plays. He plays that right wing-back role really well, and you have to wonder if Chelsea's regretting selling him, because they could really use that creativity, and he's been looking good with... I guess this Brighton team does attack a lot, so it is kind of a good environment for him. They've got a lot of talented players. Then, in the second half, it wasn't looking that good for them. Their midfield was getting beaten a lot. They were letting in a lot of balls through. I really felt that Ben White should have made his presence felt more. He's a player that I think everybody kind of rates pretty highly, but you really want to see a bit more from him. The defense, it was all right. They did obviously miss Lewis Dunk. Maybe they could have won this game if he was there, but not the best overall. And Matt Ryan, he was making some good saves for them. Lastly, I do want to say that I think that they really need Umpai to step up, because this is a team that's creative. They're getting a lot of chances, but the goals aren't really coming, and they need their striker to score. I mean, that's just about all you can say for them. And if they get that clinical striker, then they could really go on to the next level. But if they don't, then they'll continue to flounder. And this is a team that's been playing really well. They've played Manchester United really well. They played Chelsea well. They looked good in this game. They looked good against Crystal Palace, but they just haven't gotten the points from it. And they need to start getting those points, or else I don't think they're going to get relegated, but they're just going to have another mediocre season, and all this talent that they're able to get together, it's probably going to end up leaving. That's something that this Brighton team really can't afford right now. I think they need to get some good results, keep their talent, and hope they can start to get something going forward. Because they got a good manager, they've got some talent, but I think they need some goals, and maybe Aaron Connolly can step up for them. I'm not sure about that. Maybe they recall Glenn Murray and see if he can get them some goals, because we know that he can score. But overall, not the best result by Brighton. West Brom, I think this is probably their best second half of the year. Probably one of their worst first halves. I don't think they've put together a good 90 minutes, West Brom, this entire year, but they're able to turn like 3 good halves into 3 points, so something to be said about that. So picking a man of the match for this game is tough, but I think I'm going to go with Pereira. He was looking really creative. He had a couple of really nice balls, and he wasn't involved in the goal, but I think he had a really nice game. Really good player for West Brom. Yeah, that's about all I have to talk about. I'm probably not going to be able to cover the Friday games on Friday next week, because Friday's just kind of busy for me. Honestly, it's kind of nice for the time delay. It happened in England, didn't happen in America yet, so I was able to get to this game kind of quickly. Kind of lucky for me for that, but that's about all I have to talk about for this game. Pretty nice week for football. That's about it. I'll see you.